Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the another revision session of professional ethics where we are going to begin with second schedule. Sir, second schedule is very easy, very small, unlike the first schedule. Got it, sir? So first part, there are three parts, part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 1 talks about professional misconduct for a CA in practice. Clause 1 says that you need to have the first quality of the professional, that is confidentiality. That means कोई professional, that is confidentiality, objectivity, integrity, professional competence, due care, professional behavior. Out of these 5 qualities, the first quality is confidentiality. If you break that quality, we will be making you guilty under clause number 1. So clause 1 says a CA in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct when he discloses the information. Do it with me. When he discloses the information to any person acquired in the course of professional engagement, he will be guilty unless the other person is his client, or he is disclosing by the consent of his client. Consent is important, or otherwise then required by the law for the time being in force. Then we discuss these 3 exceptions: reporting to the exchange authorities, reporting of fraud under 143(12), or reporting something as per the Evidence Act, that means being in the courtroom, being a part of the legal proceedings, then it is allowed. Then we discussed about this example where a chartered accountant disclosed the vital information about the client in the name of nationalism. In the name of nationalism, in the name of patriotism, he said, I want to help my nation. That's why I am disclosing the client's information. Is it allowed? The answer is no. Again, guilty of professional misconduct. Similarly, if a bank asks you for your working paper, can you share it? The answer is no. What are the different provisions you will write? So first of all, you will write clause 1, part 1, second schedule. Then you will write about SA 200, confidentiality part. Then you will write about SA 230, my documentation is my documentation, none of your documentation. That means the audit documentation is the property of the auditor. He may share relevant extracts at his own discretion. Then we discussed about clause number 2. In clause number 2, we talk about ROFUS. Sir, what do we talk about? ROFUS. ROFUS is report on examination of financial statement. Whenever you are submitting such report, make sure the examination is done by 2 types of people, internal and external. Internal are the people, that is you, your partner or your employee. And the external could be any other CA in practice. Unless these people are examining and you are submitting the report, you will be guilty under clause number 2. Remember clause 2, 2 sets of people, internal and external. Then comes our clause number 3. Whenever I say 3, you say EOE. Whenever I say 3, you say EOE. You say EOE. You say EOE. Whenever I say 3, you say EOE. So what do you mean by EOE? I say estimate of earnings. That means you are permitting your name or your firm's name to be used in connection with the EOE. That is the estimate of earnings. Estimate means earnings will happen in future. These are contingent upon some future transaction where the other person believes you are vouching for the accuracy of forecast, you will be guilty. But there are 3 things if you mention in your report, you will be safe. But sir, we know these things. But sir, we know these things. What are the bus? Basis of forecast, assumption used, source data. Come on everyone, please say with me. Basis of forecast, assumption used and source data. If you are mentioning these things, then you will be not guilty. Plus mention that you don't vouch for the accuracy of forecast. Classic, done sir. Now comes clause number 4. What was clause 4 all about? 2 square. 2 square means first 2 from the 20% of substantial interest. Next 2 was your breakup period. That means it takes 2 years to recover. So after 2 years only a director can become the auditor of the company. Now sir, what does clause 4 says? A CA in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he expresses opinion on the financial statements of an entity in which he, his partner or his firm has substantial interest. Got the point? Yes sir. Then comes clause number 5 and clause number 6. What is the commonality between the two? What is the commonality between the two? Sir, the commonality is very simple. In both the clauses, you know about the wrong thing, plus you are associated with the financial statements in a professional capacity. In clause 5, there is a non-disclosure. In clause 6, there is a non-reporting of material misstatement. Clause 5, there is a non-disclosure of a material fact. In clause 6, there is a non-reporting of a material misstatement. So let's revise the 2 clauses very fast. What is clause 5 all about? A CA in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he fails to disclose. If he fails to disclose a material fact which was known to him, and the disclosure was necessary to make the financial statements not misleading, and he is associated in the professional capacity. 4 conditions need to be satisfied. First condition, fail to disclose a material fact. Second condition, it should be known to him and the disclosure was necessary to make it not misleading. And the fourth point is, he is associated in the professional capacity. Then we discussed about clause number 6. Again, 3 conditions. Failure to report a material misstatement, again known to him, again associated in the professional capacity. Then comes clause number 7. How many days you should exercise? 7 days you should exercise. So clause 7 talks about same thing. If you don't exercise due diligence or you are grossly negligent in the conduct of duties, you will be guilty under clause 7. Acha, if we exercise, what it increases? Vitality. That means it is a vital clause which makes you attractive, which gets attracted wherever it is necessary to see whether the chartered accountant has reasonably, honestly discharged his duties or not, whether he has done the work properly or not. And second thing, what do you mean by negligence? Negligence covers everything. It covers the wide scope of frontiers of fraud to the minor collateral negligence. Then we discuss some tricks to solve the clause 7. Please remember, whenever the auditor acts like an idiot, fourth idiot, then in that case clause 7 gets attracted. For example, he has delegated the work to an article, not reviewing the work. He is not performing the basic audit procedures, like for cash he is not doing the cash verification. For bank he is not checking the bank reconciliation or bank statement, not completing the work on time, and the client has to suffer. Similarly, while reporting, he is submitting 2 reports for 1 financial statement, or submitting incorrect report and then saying I have sent a correction slip and is not able to prove the correction slip. Faltu auditor. Okay? Or he is sharing the password of his digital signature certificate. Everyone knows you should not share your passwords. Similarly, I would say whenever there is an incorrect certification, clause 7 will get attracted. Then we discuss 2 special certificate of raw material consumption, clause 2 will be additionally added. And if you discuss about certificate of circulation, clause 8 will be added. Done. Then comes clause number 8. It talks about sufficient. Yani unless you have sufficient information to give your opinion, don't give your opinion, or its exceptions are material enough to negate the expression of opinion. That means you should have disclaimed your opinion. That's what clause 8 is all about. Then we discussed about clause number 9. What does it talk about? Earlier it talked about compliance with section 139. Here it talks about compliance with GAPA. Do with me. Compliance with GAPA. Sir, what do you mean by GAPA? GAPA means generally accepted procedure on auditing. One more time. Generally accepted procedure on auditing. That means you should comply with the standards on auditing. If you don't, write it in your report. But if you don't write, you fail to invite the material departure from GAPA, you will be guilty under clause 9. Here the special points are important. If you are an auditor of listed entity, get a peer review certificate. Whenever you are writing a certificate or report, you should generate a UDIN plus mention your FRN, MRN. Come on. FRN and MRN, firm registration number, membership number. Got it? Got it, sir. Then comes clause 10. It talks about your fees. Anything apart from your fees or the money to be expended in reasonable time, apart from that, you should keep in a separate bank account. If you are not keeping it, if you are failing to keep it in a separate bank account, you will be guilty under clause number 10. Acha sir, if I am getting an advance, it is also your fees. So keep in your bank account. Why need to keep in a separate bank account? But sir, if I am getting something in my capacity as a leader, what is leader? Liquidator, trustee, executor, then you can keep it in a separate bank account. You have to keep it in a separate bank account. Got it, sir. Then comes part 2. Very easy. What was the clause 1? Contravention of PRG. Contravention of PRG or a non-compliance with PRG. PRG means provisions of the act, regulations made thereunder, or guidelines issued by the council. So if there is any non-compliance with the sections or the council general guidelines, it will come under this part. All the regulations of articles that we discussed, paying the stipends on time, making sure the attendance is regular of the article, not taking any money from the article firm, giving the articleship, these are the regulation. If there is any contravention of the same, this clause gets attracted. Similarly, if there is any contravention of council general guidelines that we'll discuss in the next class, this clause will get attracted. Okay? Just read through these examples, that's it. Then clause 2 was similar to the clause 1 of the part 1 of the second schedule that we discussed about confidentiality. Clause 3, we all love. Sir, why? Because it talks about submitting the false information to those people who we learned yesterday. That means including in any SIRF. What is SIRF? Sirf means including in any statement, information, written or form. Let's repeat it again. Including in any statement, information, written or form, any particulars knowing them to be false. Who are you submitting to? ICC, institute, its council, its committees, or the DD body DC. Oh ho ho. So what was DD body DC? Directorate discipline, board of discipline, disciplinary committee. And if you are not satisfied with the quality of their decision, you appeal. So quality review board and appellate authority. If you are submitting any Sirf in that the particulars are false, you will be guilty under this clause. And 4 for fraud, that means if you are doing any fraud, that is embezzlement or defalcation, then you are guilty under clause 4, part 2, second schedule. Part 3 we discussed yesterday only, imprisonment for more than 6 months, part 3 of second schedule. So that's all about second schedule. It took us 10 minutes 40 seconds to revise it all, and I hope you enjoyed this revision. Keep studying with happiness, because then only we progress. Lage raho. Have a great day ahead. Keep rocking.